I took the law and threw it away, 'cause there's nothing wrong, it's just for play. There's no law anymore. I wanna steal from the rich and give to the poor.
I feel like he could have nailed that role.
Makes you wonder what happened to that guy.
Well, I saw on WWE.com a couple years ago they did a like "Where Are They Now" thing with Jameson, and it had him and his son. He's just some actor guy.
That's so weird because he was only around for it seemed like forever. But what was it? Maybe a year.
Maybe. Well, he went away because he was on the Bobby Heenan show in the 80s, and but he went away for a couple years, and he was with like the Bushwhackers and he was like chewing socks and weird shit. I
forgot about the Bobby Heenan show.
He went from just some nerd with Bobby Heenan, and he came back and he was like Tommy Dreamer, like eating trash and just all kinds of gross shit.
And he was pretty much always with the Bushwhackers too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was like their manager.
Licking, and and I remember him being in the audience for the weird primetime wrestling that was on for a little while with Vince in the tracksuits and shit.
And the Barbarian like tied him to a stake and was going to burn him alive. Legit. I really wish I was making that up.
I remember that. Oh, good times.
I feel like AEW is going to do something like that. It's going to be just this, I don't know, some symbolism of Triple H burning him at the stake like villagers.
I can see it happening.
They might as well at this point.
Yeah. And that's the top news.
And that's your top news.
Jameson, where is he now?
Probably tucked away.
Yeah, probably.
Probably comfortable wherever he's at.
We should work that whole thing into since we have it recorded.
Well, that was the game plan.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
You feel like they should give walkthroughs of Titan Towers like it's a museum?
Now that would be awesome. Do you think they do?
No, I know they don't, but I think they should. I was just talking to this last time I did Unismack with Matt, and we're like, what if they did that? And it'd be just, you see that part in the smoking deck where Pat Patterson would sneak cigarettes, you'd go by Vince's office, you'd see all kinds of zaniness walking through. Like, you remember in Beyond the Mat, and Giant Silva, he was just walking through, and Vince's like, looking good, pal. You just, who knows what you're going to see? Just
that scene with the water.
God. The best. Like our friend Eric liked to say in the past, the most aggressive chewer is Vince McMahon.
Oh, man.
My
He's
God.
crazy. That's when you know he's really crazy.
Make movies.
Wow.
Drew. Man, you know what? We don't make movies, but we make new ventures. It's going to be doing something different. Pro Wrestling Journal. Thanks for having me, man. It's going to be here.
Yeah, new podcast, new, like you said, venture with, I guess we didn't really have too much thought on the one we were going to really kick it off, but it felt like the right time with everything coming up in the next week. Everything's going to explode, I guess, everywhere, you could say, with all kinds of wrestling. So no better time than now, and no better people than you and I to really figure out how to navigate the whole thing.
Drew, I couldn't have summed it up any grosser myself, my friend. Immediately, I had pictures of Michael Nakazawa in my head and just, ugh.
Oiled it up. It's party time.
You're right. We're ready. The wrestling world is lubed up and ready for some deep pounding because we are 1 week away. The countdown is on. 1 week from tonight, actually, October 2nd, AEW on TNT kicks off, Drew. So much wrestling's about to, not just that Impact on Access now. You got ROH, and God knows what they're doing with their TV deals. A little bit of turmoil at Impact we'll get to later on. But yeah, now you got NXT's in full force. This is week 2. It's now on USA. The shit is about to hit the literal fan, man.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because so far NXT got the head start, but man, I felt like it's just not been like a big when they switched over to Live USA, like it hasn't been like that big, like here it is, like I thought it would be. It's just been kind of lackluster, and honestly, I didn't even see this week's show yet, and last week was just kind of like there, and wow.
It kind of helps too when your entire network doesn't crap out when everyone is told to tune into hour 2 and nobody can watch it. Yeah. That's always a problem.
Do do you think that killed like the whole thing? Do you think that was kind of like the everything was hot until that happened, and then it just kind of immediately cooled off?
Yeah, in a way. I didn't see a whole lot of negative about NXT last week. I thought it was kind of event like Undisputed Era has all the gold now. I don't think it was a shit episode by any means. There was some
That was a
thing.
decent, good match too.
The use of Pete Dunne is disappointing, but that's the little mark inside me getting upset.
Sure.
I don't know. It's too early to tell. It needs to get out of Full Sail. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's what I think across the board. I've heard on a bunch of different podcasts and everything that like count down to how many weeks they'll last there before they move out and start just becoming a touring brand, and then there'll be ECW, and then Big Show will be the champion, and
And I'm kind of confused because I'm not one of those those podcasters, whatever, Drew. For anyone that's never heard me on the Hibiki TMD channel, cheap plug. I'm not one of those that look into the business analytics and all this stuff. No, I'm just a little confused because last year NXT was at center stage and hitting up all these smaller venues and literally touring. And we're kind of just stuck in this Full Sail bubble again 1 year later. And I've been saying it, I feel like, since 2016, around that time when I first started podcasting, that I need to get out of Full Sail. It's just those fans are so spoiled and they don't even know it. They've seen so much goodness over the years and they're just kind of desensitized. And I know it's the Orlando area and people tourists and they move in and out and say that's a destination for some people to travel down there. But the majority of the time, it's this family type, close knit environment that's been there since day one. And that's like Izzy's parents and all those fucking fans. They're going to be there till the end of time.
Yep. And there's no, like you said, there's no cycling of anything. And I mean, location means a lot. And I think they're going to realize that. And when I don't know, it's just NXT seems to have lost that, what we all liked about it. Not everything. I mean, it's still great and it's still better than the other shows, I think. But it seems to have become more like the standard. Like there's less of that kind of guerrilla style, like off the cuff feel to it, and now it's kind of more like the other shows, I guess, without being like the other shows completely.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I don't know, that just makes it just not that it turns me off from it, but I just don't feel as like I'll still tune in to Takeover every time, but I don't feel like I need to catch the show every week.
Right, exactly. A lot of people don't even watch weekly. They just catch the takeovers.
Yep. Yeah, and it works.
Another thing I'm learning over, it does, you're right. I'm learning over the last couple of years, especially since the War Games takeovers debuted. I'm starting to dread this time of year when NXT rolls around because we're just throwing guys in the War Games for the sake of doing it now with Imperium. I feel like when the first NXT War Games happened, that was a storyline that had been building up and then just it happened to need War Games. And now it's to where the War Games needs the guys, if that makes sense, right, for just the sake of doing it. And if anyone follows NXT UK, and I kind of have to because I do a podcast about it on my channel and stuff, Imperium has been one of the most solidly booked heel factions in pro wrestling today, and that's across the boards in my opinion. They've looked dominant. Yes, it's a watered-down ring comp from WXW. I get it. But come on. It's been fine. And now I'm seeing reports tonight that the main event, spoiler alert, the mystery partners or whatever, for Kushida, it was Breezango, and Breezango beat Imperium. And I'm just over here like, what the hell? Because they've been steamrolling guys in NXT UK. So now I'm starting to dread this time of year because it's damaging. I feel like last year it kind of made Pete Dunne not damaged goods, but it made him look way less special than when he did when he was just on the NXT UK brand, where he's essentially the Hogan of that brand when he was still on it.
Yeah. Well, first off, Union Smack's one of my favorite podcasts. So.
Well, thank you, sir.
I love it. But also, just to catch up a little bit, you said Breezango is the partners for Pete Dunne.
No, tonight's main event on this episode of NXT, which I have not watched yet. I just saw the reports.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the War Games, and I'm like, they're putting Breezango.
No, remember last year Pete Dunne was in the War Games, or it could have been one of the years, first 2 years.
Yeah. He was in last year, right?
I'm pretty sure. You guys are going to have to take our word for it. If not, just ream us out in the comments for it.
Back to so they're not putting Breezango in War Games?
No, I have no clue. I'm saying on the main event tonight was it was Imperium versus Kushida and Breezango, and they lost to Breezango, and I'm just over here like, my God, because I don't think they've lost on UK television yet.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. Like they can't even they should at least keep that consistency since it's going to cross over so much, and maybe like merge more at some point.
Mm-hmm. It's either way, good and bad. It feels there's something nostalgic about this whole feeling coming up in a week, Drew. It feels like home again. It feels like when we were teens, man. And I hate to be cliche about it, but I don't feel like any true wrestling fan can deny that right now, that every fan a week away from this has that little feeling in their stomach. Those little Monday Night War butterflies, pal, brewing, you know?
Yeah. And it's not, and it's like, thinking back on it, this coming up, it's not like we've been sitting around going, man, I can't wait till that happens again. I can't wait until we get back to that time in wrestling again and we have that show and everything. It was more like, well, that's never going to happen again. So wonder how this is going to go. So the fact that it is, even regardless of what happens and if everything crashes and burns or it's just not the same or whatever, but the fact that it even has the chance to, you know, hit this level again, it's exciting.
A lot of people can make the TNA and ROH argument. Yes, there was a point where TNA was on the cusp of being somewhat valid competition to the WWE. We all know how that turned out. The difference with AEW, and this is another thing that's undeniable, there's never been in my lifetime, probably just a lot of people's, I've never seen just an instantly successful smash hit grassroots out of nowhere promotion like this, ever. ECW took a good 2 years to take off. AWA didn't kick off immediately. Vern Gagne and all the TV deals and all that stuff. It took a little bit of time for that to get going. I've never seen it. World Class Championship Wrestling was really doing shit until the Von Erichs took over in the main events in like 82, as we would know from our show back in the day doing those reviews. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. And I don't think it's going to be a flop. I really don't. It's going to be, no wrestling show is perfect. We've got to address it, and I don't want to offend anyone or anything. Just the wokeness has to be reeled in. It has to be, because now you're not in a niche market now. You're in the big time, pal. People, I don't think people are going to even make an effort to get offended or pick a side. I just think society in general is burnt out already on this wokeness mindset in society, that kind of thing isn't going to fly. People are just going to tune out and not even going to want to be a part of it. Like, I don't even want to look at it type thing.
Yeah, no doubt. I can agree with that. I think it's going to, I don't know, and like you were saying before, I think it's crazy that a company is able to pop up like this, but I think the main factors that differ from anything before, I mean, since WCW and before now, that's really different is you got, and not that it's everything, but the one main factor is you have a wallet that's endless at the moment. Like, there's no budget. Of course, I'm sure that'll change if the show like crashes and burns or something. Mm-hmm. But and you got somebody like at the top that's like a legit like wrestling fan that wants to do it kind of from that perspective. Like, I guess like sees it and enlisted all these guys that are, you know, the up and comer cool thing right now as far as wrestling goes, like the trendy thing, I guess you could say. Like, yeah. They surpassed like where they were the trendy independent guys, and now it's this whole nother kind of bubble. So I think all of that is going to at least skyrocket it here out the gates, and then whatever they do with it at that point is that's what'll, you know, we can't tell until that happens.
Yeah. And with the endless bank account thing, he's going to want to start seeing results eventually, like any investor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and absolutely. It's just where, you know, seeing these companies like TNA over the years, like where they would be trying to do stuff, they wouldn't have the money, or they do this or that, and just seeing a company that really doesn't have to worry about that, at least for the near future.
Mm-hmm. It's okay to, I don't want to say cherry pick, but just kind of sprinkle in. Just don't overdo it. Yes. And people are probably asking themselves, what do you mean by wokeness? The Nyla Rose thing in general. I think this early out of the gate, I think it's a big mistake to be doing this, especially if you want to book her as a babyface, because I feel like this crowd next week, they're going to be in the corner of Rio 100%. I feel like it's just, I get it. It's 2019. And I personally, because I have transgender friends in real life, I think it's a great thing. Mm-hmm. You got to know your fucking market, though. These are guys, that fan, that AEW fan, that anyone listening to this knows what we mean. We all dread. That is, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That unfair, totally biased, fucking mentality type fan on social media and all that stuff we have to deal with on a daily basis, and we roll our eyes at. That fan is the backbone of this fan base. Fair to say.
Yeah.
Those guys are the ones that send these high school childish memes all the time. We know she's a dude, right? Oh, those are the guys. So how do you think that's going to go over if you want her to be a babyface? Now, that's great fucking heel heat done in a classy way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go out there and be all, whatever.
I think out the gates it'll hang okay, but then it's going to be they want to let it shortly after become like its own just normal character development, and whatever happens after that, because then there will be some issue. But I think they still got that the where it's so new and everybody's just like got that real excitement just for the whole thing to kick off, where they've really beefed up her personality and character to where everybody's hanging on everything they do right now with a positive thought, like all the storylines and everything, because it's just like that new excitement. But then when it starts becoming a weekly thing and stuff can get stale and old, that's when they need to okay, time to do the normal development and moving forward with everything.
And I think in a case like this too, quite honestly, it's very hypocritical for them to book it like this, because like we said at the top of this show, it needs to be the alternative essentially to what WWE is. It needs to be as advertised. It needs to be that alternative. Doing this, when you take a look around at your talent in your women's division, you got Britt Baker, you got all kinds of talented women from Stardom in there. Is Nyla Rose going to be the one you throw in for your first ever women's champion? Looking at it on paper, off paper, whatever. No, flat out. They're doing exactly what WWE does when everybody rolled their eyes when Nia Jax would have a title reign. When you look around, you had Banks, Becky, all those women doing nothing at the time. Same thing.
Right.
And that's what the backlash they're prepared to take, because that's what they're going to get, in my opinion.
But then there's always that thought, maybe they know something about this match we don't.
Right.
Which I mean, like you said, looking at it on paper, I don't see how, it could be, but maybe there's some, maybe they know something about those two getting in the ring that there's just going to be, I don't know.
Either way, I don't want to get worked up, segment one, but I don't want to be one of those podcasts that I've been listening to, and it's very frustrating when, they want to talk about it, and it's an elephant in a room type thing, and they don't talk about it. And I feel like I don't want to be those shows that doesn't address stuff. There you go.
There we go. Yeah. Well, no, and I thought you didn't shit on it or hammer it hard or anything. That was a good perspective.
There's a time and a place for every type of angle, I feel like, in wrestling, except for obvious ones you shouldn't do. Complete vile, just inappropriate shit. There's a time and a place for this, but I mean, just the underlying statement, I just don't feel like crowning your first champion was the way to do it.
Okay, yeah. I can definitely see it. I'm just, I guess if we want to look at it from another perspective of the match, it's like, there has to be something there that the way I'm thinking about it, there has to be something there they see that we don't, just for the fact, or they're just crazy and then we just haven't realized it yet. But with the roster they have, why did they pick these two who are pretty much unknown also, completely, which, you'd think, put the unknowns out there, but why this match? Why the first one? What am I not getting about it? So.
Time will tell, my friend. We shall find out 1 week.
Yeah. Watch it be awesome. Watch it be fucking awesome or something.
Watch it be 6-star match.
Yeah. Man.
And we're just here week 2 on our show just with nothing to say. Our foot's in our little mouths.
We'll be like, well, this is our last show.
Yeah.
Talk about Honky Tonk Man. Let me bring this up. So earlier when we were talking about Honky Tonk Man, how much he charges for autographs.
Yeah.
So I was looking him up on eBay, of course, when we were fixing our Skype earlier, and they go for anywhere between $4.99 and $15 and stuff like that. And I find this one, and it's listed for $199.99, and it says the shipping location is actually Raw's War, United States.
What?
Honky Tonk Man signed 8x10 photo to Vince McMahon autograph WWF WWE Hall of Fame COA. And if you look at the picture, it's like Honky Tonk Man in his blue jumpsuit pointing at the camera, with that look. And it says, whether this is real or not, I don't know. To Vince McMahon, what an asshole, Honky Tonk Man.
It's funny, but is it $195 worth of funny? Or
Yeah, I don't think so.
what's the worst you've ever seen a wrestler charge for any kind of merch? The most ridiculous
Oh
amount.
man,
Probably Virgil something.
yeah. There's probably some like we had some really cool like right when the boom or kind of right in the main part of the boom going on. For some reason, I remember my best indie show experiences around the time that I saw Jim Duggan was Canadian, but that's a whole other story.
It always comes back to that. My God.
Yeah, it always comes back to that.
6 Shades of Duggan.
I remember back like those a lot of those shirts being like really expensive, or seeing when those guys were selling them just because they would have to pay so much to get them printed, and they would have to turn around and sell them for so much. So it was like probably something really homegrown indie local was probably the worst.
The best is like, okay, you go to, all due respect to the weekend warriors out there, you go to one of those shows, you take the family, it's $5, it's 20 minutes away, whatever. Go to one of those indie guys that you heard of them? No. You heard of them? No. Charging these kind of prices for their shit, and you see that and you're like, really, dude? I've seen it a million times, and just the mindset is baffling.
Yeah, and then you have the guy, like, the funny thing is at those shows, too, you'll have the guy right next to him that gets it, and it's like, how are you, you're even sitting next to this dude that's like, got it together.
Yeah. You'll see some indie Joe Darling or something sitting next to, like, Jake the Snake Roberts, and you're just like, well, I get it.
Yeah.
Gotta raise the stakes.
Yeah, trust me.
Trust me. Speaking of merch, you seen this batch, this first run, you could say, of these new NXT shirts for everybody in developmental, apparently?
No.
Oh,
what?
boy.
Okay, I gotta see this.
You've got to see it. Hopefully the listeners are seeing it right now. This just dropped like a week or two ago. I mean, they've got it from everyone I haven't even seen on television in a long time, like Reina Gonzalez has a shirt now. All these people. They are, and I know people have complained about WWE Shopper the past couple of years, and I agree. It's kindergarten lazy type shit. This may be the very worst. I feel like you just found it by that sound.
Oh, I get what okay. So it was like the new line of shirts they put out.
Yeah, to coincide with the USA thing.
Oh, let me find some more of these here. Maybe I should go to the shop, the official shop.
Some of these look like my 9-year-old son got on my paint program and Photoshop stuff I use for my shows for the first time and said, oh, I did it. They're that bad.
That makes so much more sense now, because it's funny, because have you seen the by chance on Twitter anything new shirts that the Bucks just released?
No, I didn't.
So they put up these pictures. They're like, it was from the Pro Wrestling Tee store or whatever, and they're like, hey, here's our brand new shirts, and they were like these just like generic, like plain kind of weird looking shirts, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna sell tons of these, and they're like this much, $34.99 or whatever, and I was like, what the hell? Like, they look fucking weird. Now that you showed me this, I was like, oh, now I see what they were doing.
I did see, finally, God forbid, a really cool wrestling shirt the other day, but it wasn't like, I don't think it's licensed by WWE. I think the guy went off, it was Wild Boar, Mike Hitchman.
Yeah.
Dude, it looks bad. It looks like a death metal shirt. It's awesome. Shout out to those guys when they go out on their own, like one of these pro wrestling tees, whatever, and they, work with the designer. That's what it's about.
Oh man, that Mia Yim shirt.
You got the full list up there. Some of them are literally copy and paste, and they just swap the color palette. I swear to God.
The Bronson Reed shirt looks like word art in Microsoft Word.
The very worst one may be Swerve.
Oh God, I see. Oh, or the Dio Madden. Swerve.
Dio Matt, that's a person?
I've never heard of him.
Who the fuck is Dio Matt?
$27.99 worth of Star.
Ridiculous.
The Outliers. Did you see that shirt?
I did, and then I find myself saying, "Who the fuck are the Outliers?" I was like, "Is that an Outsider shirt?" And it was just a typo, and it's going for cheap because they messed it up.
What the hell? It's so weird.
Crazy that they're charging for that shit, right? Drew,
And the fact that it got through their marketing department. I mean, this is WWE.
Drew, I've never lied to you, and I've never lied to our potential new listeners we had. They're awful. They're fucking awful. And anyone that buys one of those, I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
I just don't even know why you would. If that's all they got. Man.
The question, and it's unbelievable when WWE and WWE Shops Twitter tweet this stuff out with such pride and such joy about it, and just like, look at what we got. And it's like, they gotta know. They gotta know.
Even that Tawny Storm shirt looks like it could be cool, but there's just something they fucking didn't work.
They literally look like someone went on like textcraft.net or one of those like online, just get on a browser and create your own font type things, and they came up with all of them in 5 minutes, literally.
I'm really sorry to anybody right now that's slowly pulling the headphones off of their head and a tear coming down their face because they're wearing one of these right now.
I hope the tear didn't mess up your Swerve t-shirt.
Your Swerve, it probably like starts coming off like when you put it in the dryer.
Yeah, like while you're sitting in the chair listening to this, don't like position to the left or right too hard or your shirt will rip.
I really like that there's this Gargano shirt on here that looks like the 80s. Like, it's pretty cool.
But yeah, that's what they're working with now. I mean, it is kind of cool. Like they're even giving developmental guys their immerse. It's a source for the guys and gals to make money. That's cool. But my God, how much money you expect to make off these?
Yeah, when you put it that way, that is pretty solid. Maybe they're really cheap to make, so it gives a lot of. They're not thinking that way though.
I always love though. I do got to shout out WWE Shop when they re-release a line like every couple like quarterly. I think of like the old retro '80s shirts.
Dude, I love that. That's what mostly I have. Like I have a Steamboat shirt and like a Bret Hart shirt, and they're always all comfortable too. You know, they're like the good material.
The next on the agenda is to get that Rougeau Brothers shirt. It's awesome.
Did you see the like basketball shorts they were putting out there for a minute?
No.
They look like the Bret Hart tights and like the Shawn Michael tights and stuff like that. Oh,
I did see that.
Badass.
I did see that. Those are cool. Yeah. I have AJ Styles socks. Oh boy. They look like his boots.
Like Finn Balor socks or something like that. They're pretty cool.
Welcome to Fashion Cast.
Fashion Cast with your favorite wrestling socks. I do have Macho Man socks.
I bet they're fabulous.
They're footies.
Oh man, AEW's not the only thing happening lately, Drew. You got the Fiend in a title match coming up at Hell in a Cell with Rollins. Real quick, did you see that stuff from Raw Monday with the cringe from Rollins, like he's a girl in a horror movie?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I did catch that. Yeah, I thought it was. I know what he was trying to do, but I don't think that was well. It wasn't like he like whiffed it or anything. I just don't think it was executed the proper way.
Mm-hmm.
It just was a little too much. Like I'm not gonna sit there and say he looked like a sissy or something like that. But I don't know. It's funny watching WWE anymore. I'm always like, well, what the artist was going for here, or what the writer was trying to think like that. But it just wasn't well done for a champion.
Drew, you're literally like the nicest man on earth. You're so nice about it. Because let's do this, Drew. Let's do this. Let's get a couple DeLoreans. Let's get in a couple little time machines. Let's take a couple little trips real quick. Let's go back to a time, I don't know, called Royal Rumble 96. Bret Hart versus The Undertaker. Imagine this. Imagine The Undertaker. Remember when he came out from under the ring in that cage match with Diesel and Bret, Drew?
Yeah.
Imagine that happens, and this great kick-ass babyface who was an everyman's kind of worker, Bret Hart, goes, ah! Like a little fucking girl. Imagine. Let's get in another DeLorean, Drew. Let's go to SummerSlam 98, the highway to hell, pal. Imagine. Undertaker and Kane come out, threaten Steve. Imagine Steve Austin going, ah! What the hell
Did he scream like that?
It was in a Rollins voice. It was like, eh. It was, and I really wish to the gods above that I was making that up, but I'm not.
I am taking that and putting it on my soundboard. That's
John. No, it was bad, dude. I was not a fan of this, and I've seen
because I kind of caught I saw GIFs and different things of it. There's a reaction in his face, and I heard all kinds of people talking about it, and it was like, oh.
The best one is the tweet somebody put out. It was like when you walk into your parents having sex, and it was just that shot of Rollins. I've seen people try to, and I kind of get it in a way where they're saying, well, it just makes the Fiend look that much more intimidating and it builds his character up. But the sake of what? It wasn't like Rollins was really in the great graces of fans lately, anyways, with how he's been booked. Do you think this helped? Do you think it
I feel like
helped?
somebody gets a question wrong.
I fully believe, and as I sit here with you, Drew, on September the 26th, that at Hell in a Cell, that crowd is going to be 100% in the corner of the Fiend. And shit like this
Yeah,
doesn't help. And I feel like it was going to be like that anyway, but now I'm for sure that's what it's going to be.
I feel like the whole thing. I feel like the whole thing. I guess I don't know what to think. It's just happening so fast, maybe, and kind of came out of nowhere. And I like the Fiend thing has been so cool and fun to watch, and now when I see something like this, I automatically think like, oh, that's about to die. Like that's gonna be over soon. But I don't know. Maybe they can make it work, but he has to win. Like at this point, he has to win, right?
I feel like, yeah, he
I
has
mean,
to win.
I don't think there's any other way out of it.
There's a way out of it because now it's like Mysterio and Rollins now on Raw next week for the title because he won that 5-man match or something, right?
Yeah.
They could, because they could have Mysterio win, okay? And then they could, because they said either way they're still going to have the match, The Fiend and Rollins. I feel like The Fiend is so goddamn over right now, they really wouldn't need the title, but I feel like it's going to take a lot of steam out of that match for people to care if you do that. Plus,
Yeah.
it's right Mysterio had the best track records of just outstanding title runs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how about this? On the other hand, if the Fiend does win, do you think they have the mentality of having a champion that's not like on the show all the time, like Brock, but a little more than Brock, but just kind of having?
You
Do you
think
think that's what they're thinking?
you think about it, and this didn't really click with me until like the other day. I was just like bored, zoning out, and it hit me. I was like, wow, they haven't really had the title, a top title on a dark type character like this in so many years. Do they even know how to book that anymore? Think about the
Yeah.
last kind of character that was. And I'm not talking like 2010 Kane, and I'm not talking like Undertaker. I mean like first run, like blah, blah stuff like that. And I can't. And I hope they know what the fuck they're doing because this character that they've reinvented with Bray Wyatt is one of the greatest things they've done in at least 5 years. Fair to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And that kind of makes me think of another point I've thought off and on every time they kind of do a split like this. Um, do you think they feel more confident, like taking a risk with one of the titles when they have another one on the other show? Like they feel like that if they fuck it up, at least they have the other title going, like, and then they can regroup.
It's hard to say what the B brand's even going to be because it's not like the USA Network deal. It's not like they're going to lose money on that. It's still they get paid a lot of money to be on USA, right?
Hmm.
So
Oh yeah,
what
absolutely.
are they even going to consider? I'm sure that the Fox is going to be just the top tier considered brand once that kicks in. But it's not like USA's a pushover, so they're still going to want captivating. They're going to want captivating TV on all their shit that's on the network. They don't really care about stuff that's on demand on the network at the end of the day compared to that stuff.
I think they probably feel that Raw is going to be Raw no matter what. So if they can boost SmackDown, then they'll just be like on equal ground.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe they just want to get SmackDown on that level, and they'll have two babies. You know,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And then they'll have NXT right in the middle.
begs another question. We saw since we've talked last, we've seen Brock pop up on SmackDown. Now it's official. Kofi and Brock on the Fox debut. A lot of people think it's one and done. What if Kofi wins?
With how many times Rollins has beaten Brock, I think Kofi is going to win, and I think they're going to. I think it's going to be a really good match. That's my prediction.
I got a feeling that's what I don't think Brock's winning this match. And I know people are
Because
going to think we're insane, but
mhm.
it,
Well,
it's too predictable.
and look at how long. Well, and plus they have that whole Beast from the East thing where he just beat the hell out of him in like a squash match a few years ago.
Yeah.
So they can look back on that and then bring it to this. That's been Kofi's like whole story, especially the Randy Orton thing. And then um, it's like you look at Rollins where he's beaten Brock a couple times. Like Kofi, look how long he's had the title now. I think they do have confidence in him, at least for the time being, for however long they want to keep it, and that would just give them the boost that I think they would see as being, good. And maybe they're using Brock for that kind of thing now because he's getting older or something. Maybe he's cool with it. Maybe he's just like, yeah, I'll do that and give him my check, and these guys get boosted from beating me.
Yeah. A lot of people have completely shit on the Kofi Kingston title run. I don't think it's his fault. It's just what's he been giving. You can't be giving Dolph Ziggler for like 4 months and expect people to love anything at this point.
Yeah, and because that's when it turns into, not that all the matches have been spectacular, but
retread.
It's not that they're not good. It's just that they're the same thing. Like, man, this whole thing where they have just the same guys on every show over and over and over as like a program, like that's not the kind of programs a wrestling fan wants.
For me, I've been one of those fans. I feel like for the last good 3 to 4 years, I've been waiting on the changing of the guard, and every time I feel like it's going to happen, something weird happened. Like for a while, I was Cena getting thrown back in title matches, and then just this Orton stuff last month. At least Kofi, we liked the finish of that match, but still, it's like, should we, at this stage of the game, even be talking about Randy Orton in a WWE title match? Is my qualm.
Yeah.
When
right.
you look around, just sitting backstage in that company, all you got to do is turn your head left and right for 2 seconds. The talent that's in that company and the youth and the prodigies, the Tyler Bates, my God, there's never been a time, even the golden era of the 80s, it's never been as well-rounded as they have as talent right now.
They have no idea how to book baby faces.
They have no idea how to book more than 2 to 3 baby faces at once because they run out of ideas.
Yeah, and then, they're facing whoever they got at the time, like, oh yeah, that'll do. Randy Orton, oh, he's a big name. Yeah, get out there, and then that'll keep him busy for a month. Like,
WWE right now is, and he's going to love me for this, he's like our friend Jim. He's a dirty retro game collector. You get to a point where you got so many games, you just can't get around to playing some. They just go on your backlog permanently, and you're left with Samoa Joe never getting his comeuppance, and Cesaro doing what he does, and just that kind of stuff.
Oh, it's sad, isn't it? Well, who was I thinking of the other day where it was like that? I was just like, look at that. Oh, EC3. Look at that guy.
Oh my God, on Raw, the squash match to Rusev.
Yeah.
Goodness.
I mean, look at that. Like, I get it, like, boosting Rusev, but with him, like, come on.
That begs the question, too. I'm glad you brought that up. I was just talking about this to somebody the other day. Think he's a prick backstage? You think that's what it is? Well, it's got to be something.
EC3.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, he was fine in NXT, right? He wasn't there very long, but everything seemed to go okay. And then
I feel like.
Yeah, and then he came up, and I don't know. Maybe he just didn't click with the right people that send you on that path.
Look, I get doing that kind of shit with Mike Bennett, Mike Kanellis, whatever you want to call him, because he's the guy that he just screams that role to me, but there's no reason on this earth that EC3 shouldn't be the MJF of that company right now. None.
Yeah, they don't let him talk, like, ever.
He's the successor to The Miz, and they don't even know it. He's what The Miz should be for me. I know Miz has his fans, and Miz isn't completely awful, but he is just, when he was in Impact as the champ, if anyone called that at the time, because I know very few people watched that, and I would catch it occasionally, every time I saw him, the guy was money. Completely.
Yeah. I think that shows you where the decision makers, any of the guys that matter, don't watch anything else.
And I love the arguments, not thrown at me, but I've seen people try to, God, these dick riders, let's just say to WWE, who'd offend WWE no matter what, okay? Every promotion has those kind of fans. But I've seen it where, well, tell me one memorable match EC3 has had. Name one memorable promo. You know why I can't? Because it was on Impact, okay? Give me a break. Did you watch? I bet, and if you ask them, did you watch Impact in 2013? No. Nobody watched Impact again until Matt Hardy came around, so sit down. That's the end of the day. That's the truth of it.
Yeah, that's what kept it going when it should have died like 5 different times.
By all means, all apologies on here to the Pro Wrestling Journal staff if any of you diehard Impact fans. I don't mean you guys.
Yeah, I don't. At least not that era. Now the good stuff. I mean the stuff now.
Well, I mean your journalists who cover Impact. I don't want to offend them.
Check out ProWrestlingJournal.com for the latest on Impact Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Impact blog.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You got your, just imagine that, like, debate, like a political debate, just popped in my head. Like, you got your podiums. Who's the moderator? Well, let's bring back Gene Okerlund to life, right? And you got on one side, huh? And the other side, you got, just going at it, debating.
That would be awesome. I would pay to watch that for at least a little while.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Drew, what if AEW on TNT has a bad storm go through and the power goes out halfway through and they have to refund everybody and let them catch it on the replay?
Then we'll get a strap match where Ted DiBiase gets seen out of the building with Nana Nana.
AEW, beware a dog too. Look out. I don't know. We had a lot of stuff to talk about, but the more I think about it, and we talked about it before we started hitting that little red button, how historic this episode is, the week before the actual competition again. Just can't stop thinking about the AEW stuff going on and just how everything is going to change, man. Literally.
Yeah. And they're going to come out the gate strong, and I think it'll be good. It's just whether will it catch on like it did many years ago, where lots of people were starting to watch that didn't watch wrestling before, just because they hear about it word of mouth, and maybe when it hits cable, that's what's going to happen. But that's a whole nother ball game in itself now, like TV. So who knows? I hope it does. I really do. I hope it all succeeds and it boosts everybody else and it all goes crazy and the NWA is the thing and it's gonna be nuts.
I'm just disappointed that the week one of the TV wasn't from Amal.
Amal, I know, right? That's kind of another wrestling fan thing that we could look into a little bit about how this next week AEW is going to hit TV. Are they going to do just the standard, like their same thing that they've used for the pay-per-view with the ramp and the stage and everything? Is it going to be something new? And then from what I'm hearing, Raw and SmackDown are both going to each have unique new entrance stuff for the new season.
Yeah, I hate that so much. Stop saying that. It's wrestling.
The new season.
Not you, but I meant like to them when they say it. Stop saying it.
Yeah, it doesn't. They only say it when. I mean, it's always the same time of year or whatever, but they only say it when they got something going on like this. Otherwise, they don't bother.
Fair to say, Pyro's only coming back because of Cody and the boys.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I think everybody wants Pyro, right?
Yeah. I don't feel like you're going to see one complaint that Pyro's coming back. I think that's something that everyone can agree on, hands across America style.
And it's one of those things that they'll have for a little while, and then they'll have some reason to cut costs, and that'll be the first thing.
Pyro is like the ice cream of wrestling, I feel like.
Yeah. 31 flavors or whatever.
31 kinds of Pyro. You got your Batista flavor style Pyro.
You got your Goldberg Pyro. You got your Mysterio.
Got your Booker T, just flames. Yeah.
Just flames.
I'm interested to see what the sets are going to be, and I think AEW should. I've been saying it. I know they were just kind of little one-off type special shows, through the spring and summer this year, but that was one of my complaints too. That it kind of looks like the old TNA set, in a way.
Yeah, a little bit, just a little more
money,
dramatic, I guess. yeah, that too. I thought their best one, the most interesting to look at, was the one they did in Jacksonville, where they were at that weird amphitheater place, so they kind of had to improvise.
Yeah,
it was a little bit off center and everything. I thought that was cool.
We'd never really seen a venue set up like that. That was awesome.
Yeah, and from what I hear, after they get these initial, few months under their belt, they're going to start hitting places that are a little more, maybe not made for wrestling. Maybe malls. Nobody's at malls.
It's refreshing to see a wrestling show on a stage like that, like an amphitheater or something, because I went to a TNA house show years and years and years ago. It was at my local theater around here, and it was like on the stage, and I just thought, like, who watches wrestling like this? But then I saw that, and it reminded me of that house show.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, you see that a lot in like indie show pictures and stuff where they've done more theaters and everything, and it just always gives it a cool vibe. Like,
yeah,
wrestling fans like that stuff more to look at.
And as you said, it definitely looked awesome on TV, and it translated very well. And they need to do stuff like that more.
Yeah,
Make it stand out,
Yeah, make them want to come back and see what's going to look like next week.
Please have your big summer show on a beach like WCW used to do. Like that's something.
Oh man, that the one with Vader and Hogan in the cage.
Mm-hmm. You could have tons of Michael Nakazawa oiling up people vignettes if you do that. I'm sure they'd love it.
That could be the whole show.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Oh, did you see that? Jesus Christ! You see that unveiling of China in WWE 2K20?
No.
Okay, why are we still using SmackDown versus Raw 2007 graphics for one? Why are we every year we digress? We go in reverse with the graphics for the series. I feel like.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. I think I even stopped buying them at one point just because it didn't seem like they're getting any better.
Did you see La Parka is up for the MLW title coming up?
Yeah, I've seen like different things on Twitter and stuff about it. That's pretty cool.
How crazy is
Who's
that?
the champion right now?
Oh my god. Who was it for a while there? It was Teddy Hart. No, it's Filthy Tom Lawler.
Yeah. I think he lost it though, didn't he? Or
Oh, did he?
It back? He might have got it back.
I haven't watched MLW in a little bit. Cornette was still in the booth when I watched it.
Speaking of which, we now have weekly MLW coverage at ProWrestlingJournal.com.
That's totally why I brought up MLW.
That's awesome. Thank you. And I've actually been wanting to really get into it because it's almost become like that promotion that's really good content with, it's going to stay kind of at that consistent level of just off the cuff, off the beaten path, smaller wrestling, kind of like the NWA I think is going to be. Just like that, the real deep wrestling fans will just have this little place they can go to and really enjoy.
I think the NWA and MLW both are doing indies the best right now because they're intentionally not trying any bigger than they have to be, and that's very smart.
And there's totally room for that too right now, especially with the weird thing about the whole, especially the AEW thing, where it came from, and then different than because we're going to keep comparing it to the Monday Night Wars, but what's way different than that is that was completely built out of this indie wrestling boom. It just exploded out of that and became what it was. So there's still all that indie wrestling following that is streaming down from that, I guess, and they're all going to be watching that stuff too.
The only thing I'm fearful about with this quote boom of all the indies and AEW and all the big ones, I take a little trip back to the video game crash of '83. It was oversaturated. There was just too much, right? Now that kind of happened in the Attitude Era when it just became there was the big, but that was only 3. That's the difference, and that's the wrestling crowd. Is the wrestling crowd capable of oversaturation like this for them all to be a success? No way in hell. No way in hell.
Well, and here's another thought about it though. Just whatever, is it possible to have oversaturation now with all the content that's out there in general?
I think one of the biggest complaints pro wrestling fans have had for years is that Raw is too long. There's too much wrestling on television.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially from a TV perspective. And like you said, it's just going to get worse if that's the negative.
Now, for the diehards, the super fans and stuff, it's the greatest time to be a wrestling fan ever right now.
Yeah, I think especially for us who are going to attempt to talk about it every week. I mean, wow, it's going to, at least for a little while, it's going to be guaranteed. It's going to be a lot.
And I'm glad that we're those kind of wrestling fans too, Drew, because you're just like me. When you get burnt out with it, you take a break for a little bit and you peek your head back in.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be cool too now that we kind of have a menu full of steak and fish and chicken as far as pro wrestling goes, where we don't have to have the same thing to eat every night if we don't want to either.
Exactly. And I think that's another big thing that wrestling fans don't do. They don't take the whatever the action to desensitize themselves. They burn themselves out. Hence, their complaints get more and more and more and more and more and more and more because everything just is obsolete. It doesn't matter because they've seen everything. They don't appreciate what they're seeing anymore.
Yeah. And that's the challenge that these new promotions and up and coming are going to have is, can they be anything but the same thing? We'll see.
I just hope And I know Cody and all those guys are smart enough to know what I just said is true with wrestling fans in this day and age. But I hope that that doesn't make AEW at the end of the day the attention span federation where it's just this crash TV craziness because they know they're going to have to keep up and stand out to the attention spans of these types of fans and stuff. I hope it doesn't become
Yeah,
that.
I was already thinking about that, looking at like their where they booked the entire first show, and like thinking about okay, how many matches is that? 2 hours with probably promos and interviews and commercials and everything. Like, are they just going to be like having to speed through this thing? Like, I was trying to figure it out, like timing in my head. How long are these people going to have to wrestle? And you know, they're promoting it like these are going to be some legit awesome matches. So, will they have time to do that?
Yeah, I hope so. Because I am
Yeah.
ready for the complaints to stop and I'm ready for people to just watch and enjoy what they're watching, honestly.
You know what? I can see them going through this whole first show and just having like just match, 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 match. Maybe some like packages or something before the match. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like I can see it being just straight up front to back, all in the ring wrestling, just for that first episode to say, hey, we can do that.
Well, I know one thing. I know for the AEW diehards, I know for the first couple weeks and months of AEW, every segment on their TV is going to be Savage and Steamboat. It's going to be flawless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of that too. But I don't know. I think it's going to be all the pay-per-views. They've been kind of like spread out a little bit, and there's not been that many. You know, it's been like the first show and the second show, and then the show before TV, and it's been stuff that people can easily get really excited about. But yeah, weekly TV, that's going to be. I think they know this, but yeah, they're going to have to work at it a lot differently and harder.
You know what my favorite part of AEW has been so far, Drew?
What's that?
That the fact that Tony Schiavone, when because you know he's the guy now, right? He
Right.
says the bastard pack. He refuses to say Pac apparently.
The bastard pack. Well, you know, I heard him saying that a lot on All Out too, and I was like, maybe he told him that's how it is. I don't know.
Yeah, the bastard pack. It sounds like a stable.
That's what I thought at first you were talking about. I was like, I haven't heard of those guys yet.
I mean, if they gave him a stable,
Is that what
that's
they call the Dark Order now?
yeah, yeah. A lot of people think the Dark Order is going to win the tag belts. I could see that, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my thought on that, which is looking at the brackets and the star power and who you want to be your champions, and aside from what the women's title match is, you can't put that in context here. And they said that where did I hear that? Maybe Observer or something, but like Pentagon and Phoenix are booked the night of the semifinals, so it's
Yeah.
well, maybe it won't be them, but I think you put on the unless you're just trying to not do the standard. I think you put it on the Bucks.
Think so?
Yeah, I think with Jericho being that heel champion, I think you can get away with it for a little bit, having some babyface champion tag guys that can have a couple good matches with them, and then let them fall to somebody else.
I could see, yeah, I can see that. For some reason, I put on SCU. I think you should establish them as like
Oh, yeah.
the new day of AEW, that Freebirds, you know, type group.
You know, that's really the one team I didn't take into account when thinking about that. I didn't best friends either, but SCU was the one I didn't really think about. But now you say that, I'm like, yeah, that could be legit.
They just got to be wary of doing the Bucks because you know the people they're going to say the nepotism arguments in a way. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but that might even be their pushback saying, "Yeah, we're not going to listen to that shit."
I think it'd still be amazing. I feel like Cody Rhodes should go heel soon.
He is a really good heel. Like he's made for it. Like he's more the Ric Flair than the Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, he's kind of, if done right, he's kind of what Jeff Jarrett could have been for TNA.
Yeah, I can see.
You know what I mean? Because I wasn't a big fan of the King of that Mountain, Drew.
Yeah,
If I'm totally honest. Not in
I
that
agree with
not in
you.
that role. I was a huge fan of Double J Jeff Jarrett. That was great. That was good. But he was a mid card act. He wasn't the guy. That's the
Right.
difference.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It's just like that. That's a weird thing about AEW right now too, and obviously they're going to bring more people in. But that top level of talent they have right now, the guys that are just kind of sitting right there, it's not a ton to think about when you're talking about those title matches. Not like TV title matches, but like big ones like the Jericho Cody one coming up, and having Moxley and Omega and those guys, like just a handful of guys that you're going to have to alterate or rotate in and out here in title matches until you build somebody new up or bring somebody else in, which is going to be interesting to see kind of how they weave through all that without also like pinning guys constantly and everything.
Yeah, exactly, man.
It's crazy.
I cannot stop doing that
That's
now.
the highlight, dude.
Yeah.
I was crying laughing at that. I can see it in my head too. There's a GIF or something in my head about that right now.
I feel like, see, if I was going to do it with Cody and the heel thing in this environment, when you turn him and you make him cut promos like, I got all your marks, money, blah, 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 blah. Book it like he's kind of an insider for WWE type thing, right? And everyone thinks it's so predictable that MJF's going to be the one to turn. At first, make Cody do the turn, but eventually over time, MJF turns too, and they're kind of in this kind of elitist group together as heels down the line.
Man, yeah, and MJF not being the one to turn and instead Cody turning on him would be an awesome swerve.
Call me crazy. In 3 to 4 years from now, we could have on AEW television Cody Rhodes in that Ric Flair mentor role for Evolution with Triple H, as Cody could be for MJF.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that would be cool, too.
Because MJF's got it. MJF has got it. Let's do it, Drew. One of the biggest freaking topics of the week. Dungeons and Dragons, pro wrestling. Apparently, don't fucking mix.
Yeah, that's so funny, too. Did that cause such like a big thing?
My God, people. Is it 1986? Are you going to attack Jim Cornette at ringside because you just had to get that wrestling manager because he was such a piece of shit? It was a work. Just, my God.
It was so great. The fact that he can do that stuff and just never turn it off. Doesn't have to, like, back down from it. He just keeps it. In every interviews, everything. Like, he gets it.
For anyone not in the know, I don't know how you couldn't by now if you kept up on this. It's great. MJF just did like a random, he's cutting a promo on Twitter. He didn't directly like at Dungeons and Dragons or anybody. He just in his promo he put down Dungeons and Dragons fans or something, saying how while you were playing Dungeons and Dragons, I was doing this, or him and like chicks or something like that. As he would call them chicks. And that was enough to make like the nationwide members of Dungeons and Dragons United just come out in full force. My God, everybody wanted just him fired and just goodness gracious. And it's a special clearance deal because it's kind of later news. So you get a 2-for-1 right here. The Lacey Evans thing on an even bigger goddamn scale. Here's a woman who is a former U.S. Marine, a former police officer who, yes, the traffic stop was legit. Right? Okay, it's a traffic stop. And I'm sure she was very cordial and cooperative and all that shit. Went out of her fucking way. All you people bitch about all the time is, it seems so phony. This isn't captivating. And this woman does something that got everyone's head turned. And by the way, this wasn't an offensive promo, Drew. This passed 1989 standards, this promo.
Yeah, she kept it. It's almost like she thought everything out really hard before she did it to make sure she wasn't going to fuck it up in any way.
And that was enough.
I was really happy to see she did. I thought it was cool. I liked it.
That was enough in 2019 where people literally had to pretty much boycott that and defend. Any other goddamn time, it's down with the police and police are here. But this one time we needed it for a good heel tactic.
It's weird when it comes down to like, it could be so many different factors because then like MJF could do something like that and, it makes him more over every time.
I think
over and over. People hate him, but they love to do it. They love having that heel.
And unfortunately, Drew, this is kind of the case of two companies right now. This is kind of, in a way, these two incidents, right? They're both performers and the competitors, different companies, obviously, Lacey Evans, MJF. One got told to come out of character on social media and apologize. The other's still carrying on the fucking gimmick. So you tell me.
yeah, and it's probably going to carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be wild, and to see if that's maybe that's the narrative that we're going to see in the next few weeks over the course of all this.
Right.
Maybe that's just the small piece of it that's going to show kind of how everything else is going to lay before us.
Telling you, man, a lot of people cannot stop talking about MJF, and for good reason, man. This kid is money, and for anyone that's never, because we haven't seen a lot of
He's
him.
young too.
Yes, we haven't seen a lot of him in AEW, but from what I've seen of him in MLW with like Alexander Hammerstone and all those guys and his faction, kid's really good, and he's pretty much a total package. So he's got a huge future ahead of him, and
Yeah.
I could see him being someone that people are going to fight over in the coming years when contracts expire. I could see a little war there for MJF if he continues doing what he's doing, Drew.
Won't that be interesting that that'll actually be a thing?
I know. It's back, pal. It's
Contract wars, pal.
The Luger contracts are back. My God.
So you want to sign with us, pal? And then he drinks the bottled water. Shakes his head a little bit.
All right, you're getting ready to go out there in your debut. Don't go out yet. Here's your waiter shirt. Now you're good.
Now you're good. Put this belt on. That's where Cody got it, damn it.
Stand there and put your hands on your hips on the ramp. Don't say anything.
Don't say anything.
God damn it, I love Lex Luger references anytime, any day.
Oh, yeah. I love Lex Luger. He was, well, at times. It depended.
Man, just had to sneak peek. Had to review King of the Ring 93 for Union Smack last night, and we talked about Luger and Tatanka on that show. The shits, the mediocre shits. Luger with the right guy, though, especially in the NWA from like 89 to 92, legit.
Oh, dude, I know. Like, I think back to that time, and I'm like, thinking of all these good Luger matches, and it was always the other side that made it. Like, any match with Flair, or, I think he had some good matches with Nikita, I wanted to say.
He did.
Yeah. Even that's the Stan Hansen match.
Oh God, that was just Stan Hansen potatoing the
Halloween
fuck.
Havoc.
Yeah, yeah. Who's that? Jim Cornette told that story like backstage after that match. Lex just went up and was like, "God damn, Stan!" Just because he beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
But you know, I've seen matches with like Hoss's Luger actually carried too. Like him, I remember him and Ron Simmons having a great kick-ass big Hoss match back in the day.
Oh, Halloween Havoc.
One of them.
That was my favorite Luger right there. That title run is so underrated. I thought it was fantastic, even with all the crap that was surrounding it. Like, that was awesome.
There needs to be
I
like,
loved it.
you seen these memes coming out on like everybody's putting like Mike Tyson's head on the Family Matters intro and stuff.
Yeah.
They should do one where it's like a sitcom, but it's my favorite Luger. It's just a bunch of Lexes.
Oh, but it's got to be that one like picture of him where his like eyes are real big. It's like
Yeah.
a goof.
All the variations of Lex, like Made in the USA, Narcissus, Bodybuilder, Steroids, Lex, WBF.
Yeah. WB Ico Pro Lex.
I feel like Ico Pro Lex just like they would interview him sitting on a couch drinking shakes. That's all he did. Because he never competed against Gary Stridham or anything, right?
How about 911 Lex?
911 Lex. What's
I just
911?
found Liz Lex.
Oh my God. I was thinking of the wrestler from ECW, Drew. Christ. Mugshot Lex.
I have a second home Lex.
Fucking mugshot Lex. What would you call Russo WCW like 99 2000 Lex? Where he kind of reinvented himself a little bit.
You know what? I thought it was gonna. I liked the idea, the total package, where he had the like. What I really liked was the branded like shirts and tracksuits and stuff.
It was an Under Armour logo before it was an Under Armour logo. It was the little Lex logo.
I thought that was awesome.
Dude, we need to somehow get like, because I'll be honest, the feel of Under Armour shirts are very comfortable. Those, but with the little Lex logo, custom made.
Oh, dude, that would be awesome.
I'd wear the fucking shit out of that.
The total package. That's what it was. Lex was dead. It was just the total package.
Just Russo Lex.
Yeah, Russo Lex. Well, I think the weird thing I liked about it too is he was finally starting to like put some color back into his gear again. Like
right.
I thought his gear back in the day, like in the 90s, like early 90s, was cool, and then he just wore black trunks for like years.
I feel like the biggest downfall when he was the narcissist, like In his early days too, whenever he was a heel, he wasn't experienced yet, and I feel like by this time, if anything, his in-ring work was dog shit by then because of just abuse of substances. But I feel like he was starting to nail those heel mannerisms down more and more in this area, just because he was a veteran and he learned.
It looks like he didn't have to try anymore. Like it just kind of came natural at that point.
I'm not saying it was incredible. I'm just saying it was way
the
more
total package.
way more. I feel like that narcissist gimmick thrown on any other guy with charisma out the ass that looked like that would have been a world champion possibly, with the way Vince loves that gimmick and shit like that back then.
Well, you know what ruined it is that they immediately put him teaming with Buff.
Woof.
The total package, Buff package. What was I think they had a name, but I can't remember what the fuck it was.
Still one of like
Marcus Alexander package.
Marcus Alexander.
That was the team.
Map.
Johnny Gunn was there.
I met Johnny Gunn when I was a kid at a high school wrestling show.
That's awesome.
As Johnny Gunn.
As Johnny Gunn.
And you know what I said as a kid? Who the fuck is Johnny Gunn? Because I didn't know.
Johnny Gunn. Wasn't he South Sincere? Same guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tom Brandy's.
Tom Brandy. That's right. What a man.
From Tom. Maybe he'll be in the next All Out Battle Royal or whatever. Tom Brandy will pop up. Why not?
As Johnny Gunn.
As Johnny fucking, he better be Johnny. If he comes out there as Tom Brandy, I'm booing the shit out of it.
Have you seen these, do you follow any things on Twitter where they have been posting these clips of like these random like house shows from like Montreal and like just different places, and they like post these little clips from like the whole show throughout, like describing what's happening and everything?
You mean these clips I've been seeing on Twitter that have been blowing my mind, like Jacques Rougeau pinning Hollywood Hogan at a Montreal house show?
That one especially, and then did you see the one where Rick Martel came in as like the big save, like had the suit on, and he like ripped off his shirt?
No.
And he who did he beat? It was what was the match? It was Pierre or PCO against
No, I didn't see that.
They said it was like one of Martel's last appearances, and he just kind of came in and cleaned house and made the save. It was maybe it was against Jacques. I don't.
Yeah. Shout out. You know what? The person that runs that, really nice guy. OVP podcast. Shout out to them. They have so much fun. I've asked him too, like, dude, where do you get this footage? Because a lot of it's not even on the network, and he's kind of like tight-lipped about it. It's like a secret recipe. You don't want to give grandma's recipe away. But still, shout out to them. Yeah, I saw one the other. Did you see the one where it's like Big Boss Man's final appearance? He was like a ref.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, those things are. I spent a lot of time watching those.
Really cool stuff. A lot of things that have surfaced this year that I never knew of. All these incredible Mean Gene outtakes that have come out.
Oh, dude, those are awesome.
I've never seen them before until like this year.
Me either. It's weird that so much stuff's coming out that we've never seen. You know, like at one point we probably figured we'd seen everything.
It's like once the Tom McGee thing happened, floodgates.
Oh yeah, that was cool. That whole thing surrounding that whole thing was cool.
And got to give the devil their due. That documentary, the fact they went out of their way to like interview that Mary Kay lady and everyone, that was cool. It was cool.
Now, did you watch? That was cool. Did you watch the thing at Starcast, the whole Bret Hart Tom McGee panel?
I saw tons of clips from it, but I didn't watch it like all the way through.
So the part where like, cause they interviewed that woman and she was like all like, yeah, I did this and Bret had me up and I got the tape and whatever, and she's all happy and she's like, now I get to go there, and she was at the thing somewhere, I guess, and she brought the tape and all that, and then they're talking up there during the panel, and at one point Bret's just like, yeah, somebody came up and stole it from me.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh shit! Like, oh, I didn't know he I think he's pissed.
It's hard. Oh, God, I'm gonna sound like a dick. It's hard to tell when Bret's being sarcastic because of a certain
I know
reason.
Well, it's just I think he always kind of lacked personality, anyways, too.
Well, it doesn't help, but I'm just
yeah. Oh, but yeah, I remember sitting there, and all of a sudden I was just like, oh, I feel weird now.
Yeah, that Bret doesn't give a fuck though, man. Never has, never will.
Which is cool. Yeah, showing up at Double or Nothing, he was just like, this will be funny. This will have him pissed.
It would be incredible. Like all those stories you hear too about Bret, those like everybody talks about him, how in the dressing room He'd pull up a big sheet and do these incredible drawings of like Pat
Yeah.
Pat. It'd be great if like people saved those over the years and somehow those were still around.
I remember when they published one in the magazine that was just like this collage of like tons of superstars, and I would just like look at that thing forever.
You know
Just
what?
all
Didn't Brett over the years in the magazine in the 90s get his own little section where
Yeah.
it was his art? Like a little
Yeah,
series.
at least for a little while. Yeah,
My God, I haven't thought about that in at least 20 years, Drew. Thank
I
you,
can.
my friend.
Actually, I got a box of those, probably those exact magazines, like right under my feet right now, under my desk.
You literally, they're under your feet like
Yeah,
socks.
look at the at kayfabe today on Twitter for the Pro Wrestling Journal for some of that coming up.
There you go. Pack of socks.
Pack of socks.
You know what? God damn it. You know you're getting old when you get a fresh pack of socks. You're like, fuck yeah.
I know, but it's true, isn't it?
It is.
It's fucking true.
Are you one of those people you're anal about like your feet being dry?
Absolutely, and my hands being.
Yes. I hate lights on in the daytime and I hate wet socks. Those are my two biggest.
Here's my fucked up life. Like, well, let me just always be crazy. Is I hate having my hands be messy, but my favorite food is buffalo wings.
That's you must have like the most napkins around you when you eat them than any other human being. Like,
I do. I gather napkins. I gather them. I have tons of them.
You go through. You just set up like 3 rolls of paper towels, fresh ones. That's all.
Yeah, well, I definitely do. I have the roll of paper towel just sitting there and have a couple like pulled off already, ready to go. And then if I'm at the restaurant, I'm the guy standing by the like napkin thing going, you know, like get a big old stack of them.
Oh
It's
man.
true.
On that note, dude, this has been great. This has been a very proper way to do episode 1 of this, my friend.
Yeah, we're going to have more of this Pro Wrestling Journal podcast, which the after many ideas and debates and thoughts and everything is just going to be this, and it'll evolve on its own, and it'll be whatever we want it to be to have fun and whatever everybody wants to hear. This is it.
Hope you guys didn't mind us too much. I hope you stick around. And before we get out of here, I guess, Drew, where can everyone catch you? All that good stuff.
Yeah, at Drew Ortman on the Twitter, at kayfabe today, at PW Journal, ProWrestlingJournal.com, where we have so much awesome stuff going on right now. Stuff for New Japan, stuff for Impact, stuff for Raw, SmackDown, stuff. It's all there, and it's growing. There's more to come, so stay tuned to that. And you can also see me over on the Hibiki TMD channel, Never Joined